Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Business from the Bass Boat, powered by X2 Power. And guys, today we have a fantastic show lined up. One I've been excited about for a really long time, a big player in the fishing industry, in the podcast space, and education, which I think is a really big thing. One of the front runners in the education space from the beginning when it comes to bass fishing and folks wanting to better themselves and learning from the best. And so, without further ado, let's bring in Pete Gluszek of Bass University. How's it going,
Hey,
Pete?
I'm doing good. I've been excited to talk to you about this since we put it on the schedule. You know, we talk fishing a lot, but diving into the business side of things is just as exciting to me. You know.
Awesome. Awesome, man. Well, that's why I created the podcast in the first case was that side I also have a lot of interest in. And so cool to share both those passions, both the fishing and the business side. You had just recently, we were talking off air there, and Bailey was down there as well, but you were just at the ASA. Would love to hear kind of your thoughts there of the American Sport Fish Association and what you kind of got out of that.
Man, what a cool event, honestly, Adam. I gotta give a little shout out to Ken Duke of the fishing tackle retailer, who has been encouraging me and kind of nudging me to attend, and not really knowing what it is because honestly there's not a lot of detailed information about what takes place there. So you're kind of taking a leap of faith that this is going to be something that's good for business and helpful in what we're trying to do. So I took that leap of faith, courtesy of Ken, and boy, what an event, man! It's called the ASA Summit, and it was in New Orleans this year. They move it around, and
Okay.
man, if I had to sum it up, it's every decision maker, every business owner in our industry
Wow.
is, and I mean, from media people, owners of major tournament trails, um, business owners from Yamaha to AFTCO. As you can see, my notification bell turned that what we
You're all
attempted to
good.
accomplish
We
did not
tried.
work.
All good.
but but everybody's there. Everybody's housed in one place.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
and you're able to interact in a way that was quite a surprise to me because we spend my interaction with that with folks like that previously is at ICAST or maybe at the Classic, and it's so busy. You have so many things pulling you in different directions, things that you're responsible for, things you have to do. But this is a place where that's all removed, and
Mm.
you've got a bunch of business people, and where you can talk and learn. What man? Some of the most valuable things to me, Adam, were like things that I'm facing in my business.
Sure.
I don't have people to lean on. Like, hey, have you guys ever seen this? Like, we're about to face a potential recession
Mhm.
where the unemployment is not affected. Like, what are you guys expecting? You know? Uh,
Yeah, well, and being able to bounce that around with other business owners in the industry and that kind of a thing.
and they've been here, a lot of them in business for a decade more than me, or more, 20 years more than me. They've seen other types of recessions or expansions. They've
Mm.
and they're still here. So right, they've been successful. What did they, how were they able to do that? And and being able to share that with those people was just amazing. And they had some marquee keynote speakers,
Mm.
economists. An economist, comes to mind. Where looking into the future on what we can see or expect as an industry, and
Mm.
to help me plan, help me make hiring decisions, purchasing decisions, advertising decisions. Man, oh man, I come out of there like just raging. Like I
Awesome.
have clarity, or at least a better sense of direction than I had before I went. Priceless, really
That's
is.
cool. Yeah, I mean, well, and I mean, so much of that too, those decisions when you're in this space of not knowing, right? Of kind of we're in this space where a lot of people are getting nervous about the economy and okay, what does this mean? What does this mean for our industry? And just to have like my thought process has always been, my dad taught me this a long time ago, like when in doubt, like when you're in a situation where your clarity's like get more education, right? And get educated, and that helps you better your decision making and get you some more clarity. So it sounds like that did a bunch of that for you.
It really did. It connected me with companies that. And here's another great one. We have great relationships with a lot of companies like Rapala, for example.
Yeah.
Cash and Fishing Rods has been with us for a long time. Well, you really get some quality time with your partners to talk about how you can help their business, how you can work better together.
Yeah.
That was all. So you get to advance existing relationships.
Mm,
Talked with just countless other companies that like what Bash University is about, and they wanted to explore a relationship with us.
mhm.
Uh, so that existed there too. Um, so much, and one it's such a diverse situation going on. ASA is also very active from a governmental perspective in
Okay.
protecting anglers' rights.
Cool.
Uh,
On the conservation side and abilities for anglers to get to water kind of a thing?
it's that here. This is kind of complex if you're listening to it for the first time, but
Mhm.
we're all as outdoors people, right? We have a vested interest in the conservation of the resource, right?
Sure.
We want to protect that resource. We want to make it available for the future, and from clean water to protecting the habitat. And then, but we also have a very strong interest in our rights to be able to harvest if we choose to, or use that resource.
Sure.
And sometimes that line between those two is not crystal. It's kind of it can be a very complex
Okay.
issue that gets involved with government. And because like right now, like California is proposing to block recreational angling in a significant part of the coast. Um,
Really? I had no
they
idea.
they are there we I learned about that. I didn't know what was going on in California. I'm an East Coast guy, so we don't get that news, but there's things in Florida. ASA is out there fighting for us, right? They're they're an advocate.
Lobbying and
They're
and being that person.
They are. They're very sharp group of people over there that understand how the governmental process works, how to deal with politicians, to laws, to lobbying, and that's something foreign to me, So
Yeah.
uh, it I love to be part of that, and we, at Bass University, we recognize this too. Two companies that I want to just recognize too is Aftco and Yamaha,
Yeah.
that are leading the charge in, um, you know, protecting the environment, protecting the resource, advocating for anglers' rights. Two great companies. So at Bass U, we see this. We want to go down that road. I have an environmental engineering degree,
Very
um,
cool.
which I started working in the environmental field. So what I wanted to do is I hired an environmental conservation director. Um,
Very
uh,
cool.
Brought him into Bash University. Actually, he was my boss back when I.
No way. That's
Back,
awesome.
yeah, but his name is Craig Duran. Some of you can find him on social as the Eco Bass Angler, and
Okay.
uh,
You may have talked about him before on one of your shows. I think I've heard that name anyway.
yeah, he's been on our show quite a bit, and
Yeah.
but Craig's terrific, and he's president of a company called TTI Environmental,
Okay.
and he's part of Bash U in this regard. So one of the first things that we wanted to do was we had a few anglers access issues here in our state,
Mm.
so we wanted to take some action. Well, there was like a homeowner organization was Their dam failed, so they had to use state funding. They requested state funding to get their multi-million-dollar dam rebuilt,
Oh,
and the
wow.
state came in and built a launch ramp facility and stocked the lake. And then the homeowner organization is clamping down on what boats we can use on the lake. And
Oh, and it's
they
like
they
this is a state resource
it's
because
a
we
state
yeah.
exactly. It's a state funded project now that we're using our fishing license earnings and our taxes from purchasing fishing equipment is going to, you know, build this dam. And anyway, so they didn't want boats that were over a certain length, or you all types of restrictions that they were putting on this body of water. And we said, no, we want to be able to fish this lake. So we took some action. We got involved with some governmental agencies and some private advisors on how to go about this process. And ASA got behind it with
Mm.
us and are helping us rectify this situation. So, and I thought, that's a little tiny, teeny little issue on a little bitty lake
Sure.
here where we are, but ASA had the foresight to say, you know what, if this can be done on a little small scale like this in New Jersey, it could be done anywhere in Texas or California. They could,
Mhm.
so they wanted to help set the precedent that no,
Sure.
this was unlawful, it's unfair, and they advocated for us and still are. So
Wow.
it's pretty. So the organization is very diverse.
Mm.
I recommend if you're a business in the fishing space,
Mhm.
get get involved, become a member of the ASA, and if you can, come to the ASA summit next year. It's going to be in October down in Florida next year.
Oh,
So
nice.
I expect, if at all possible, to be there for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, wow, and this was your first summit with ASA?
It
Yeah.
was first time experience. It was eye opening.
Yeah, that's well, I just, that thanks for all the insight there, and for folks listening, we have a lot of listenership that are, uh, either employees or owners in the fishing community,
Hmm.
and, I think that that's a huge thing. My experience, relatively new to this space, have now attended a couple classics in ICAST, and those have been fantastic experiences and have been able to network in those environments. But like you said, definitely, especially the classic, very crowded, a lot going on there. So that's cool that it's a little bit more centralized and you can bounce ideas off of people and your current partners and develop new relationships. It's cool that it's a little bit a different setting. It sounds like.
It is. If you can imagine being at the classic with all the vendors
Yep.
and companies that are there, and just remove all the fanfare from that environment. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of people that really just want to do good business
Hmm.
and protect our sport and expand our sport. Speaking of which, that's another thing I learned about our sport at the
Yeah.
summit was the expansion of the sport is getting to kids before they're 12. That's the magic number.
So
Uh,
getting them into fishing before they're 12 years old, you're saying?
the statistics, the ASA research shows overwhelmingly
Okay.
a kid of, male, female, doesn't matter. They get exposed to the sport of fishing before the age of 12, they will be a lifelong angler.
Wow.
If they get exposed after 12, not so much.
Harder chance.
A
Wow.
harder chance. So we gotta hook them young,
Yeah.
and so that's really, once again, for my business. I don't know how impactful it will be. Maybe in the long run it'll be good, but for the sport, it's
Yep.
more important to me to develop content for that younger
Younger. Yeah.
person. Now we have beginners content at Bash U, but
Mhm.
even our beginners content kind of leaps ahead. Like you're going to need to know a little bit to be able to get started. So
And
I want
fishing
to,
knowledge in general, and just hooks and basic stuff you're saying to then go more into the bass fishing side of things.
yeah,
How it's
what
geared currently?
Yeah, well, I'm thinking about a mom or dad and their kid,
Okay.
and that's 10 years old that have never been fishing.
Mm,
How can I help them down that path? Like to have a positive experience on their first trip,
very
you
cool.
know?
Well, and
That
that is so interesting to me right now, and I wonder if the data supports this at all in the fishing world or how you could do this. Right now in the hunting space, I'm a big outdoorsman in general, big into hunting. We're having a good amount of adult onset hunters, someone who has grown up, who has never hunted, had never been in the woods, but now wants to have that ability to harvest an animal and get that experience. So we're starting to see um, both, at least in our states, videos and stuff, and outreach programs, and then big companies like Meat Eater who are trying to gear stuff towards the learning side for people who have never, didn't. I mean, if you didn't have your dad or an uncle take you into the woods, it's very hard to get into hunting. And so that's there's maybe some parallels there in the fishing space. I wonder if you can also, down the road, getting that parent who's never fished before to teach their kid, and that's just it's a kind of a cool or comparison.
it is, and they recognize it too. We work with the Ike Foundation. Of course,
Mhm.
Ike's got a great foundation that introduces fishing to kids, and we're going to support that. But I want to create some content that a person can come and take it on for the first time. And I think that's an important step for us because it's not going to build our business that much, but it's going to help the sport, and
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I took out of this is, heck, we've all got to work together as a group because we're battling video games, and there's forces that want to shut us down. uh you know as a blood sport, there's a lot of forces out there. So I think that's one of the things that I really took to heart from this summit was that we need to lock arms as a group of businesses and people that are involved in this, and work together to grow it. So that's certainly something that I'm going to try to do with Bass University moving forward.
I like it. I like it. Awesome, man. Well, that sounds like you got some great stuff out of that. I was curious. We had talked a little off air, and we still, you know, you're an opens angler. You fish the BFLs sometimes, some of the Toyota series, all that stuff, especially up by you, kind of in that Northeast area. A lot of changes in our industry right now, both on the open side, Toyota side, and I'm curious, what are your current plans for next year, or do you have them set in stone yet? What are you looking at for 2023 on a personal fishing level?
Yeah, it's a good question because I don't know yet, Adam.
There we go, man.
It's complex. I I talk to people that like I started my tournament fishing career back in 1997. I was full time on tour at the Bassmaster Top 100s. That's what they
Mhm.
used to call it before they call it the elites.
Yeah.
And I did that for 10 years, and then I switched over
Wow.
to the FLW tour, and I did that for another 7 or 8 years. So I was about 15 to 18 years out on tour, and then I started Bass U, and now my fish. But a lot of people that have done that, like they're out of fishing.
Mhm.
Man, I love it. I like. I mean, I love fishing these tournaments.
Yeah,
It still consumes my thoughts. I love the patterning fish, and trying to understand the movements, try to understand the developing patterns, which just is the key to winning.
sure.
And so I love it. I'm consumed by it, and so yeah, I keep fishing the opens. I keep that on my calendar, and or the Toyotas or whatever it may be. Last year I did the BFLs,
Yeah.
which I do it for a couple reasons. Number one, uh, I just love it. You're right. So I want to keep at it. But number two, it keeps me relevant as an instructor in the
Mm.
fishing
Mhm.
space. and it also allows me to interact and connect with our audience, which is out there. So
Sure.
yeah, there's a number of really good reasons to participate. But what I'm looking at right now is the Opens. There's 9 tournaments. That's a lot of tournaments for someone
Yeah, the
like
current
me.
structure to qualify for the Elite Series, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And although qualifying for the Elite Series is not a goal of mine,
Yep.
I fish the Opens to qualify for the Classic.
Classic.
That's my objective. And so, but then I talked with Chase Anderson from Bass down at the summit,
Oh, nice.
and Tim Carini, another Bass representative, and I was talking about the Opens, and they're deciding now how much of the Opens are going to be televised next year, because this year they only televised the final day
Yep.
of the last tournament, and that
The
was it.
last ones. Oh, it was just this single last one.
It was each division, the final tournament in each division on the Opens got televised, and they're looking at possibly doing more. They're exploring that option. Well, if that happens, now it becomes a much more viable promotional tool for someone like me, or for the new people trying to qualify for the elites, because now you have a much bigger platform to sell to potential sponsors.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, so I'm actually, I'm thinking about the 9 tournaments, as a possibility for me, but I'm going to commit to what was the Northern Division, but I think it's Division 3, they call it now. So I'm going to commit to that. And other than that, I don't know. The BFLs, I love those. That's a great, like I said, I'm able to connect with the anglers that are our subscribers, and the bodies of water are all close. They're all half a day drive.
Nice.
And I get to get my fix of tournament fishing, and so you may see me do the BFLs. The Toyotas are a great tournament trail, always great bodies of water. So we'll see what next year brings, but I will at least do Division 3 of the Opens.
Gotcha. Okay. And this is maybe escaping my head right now. So if you are not signed up for all 9 of the Opens, if you're just doing a division like you're talking about, Division 3 of the Opens, can you still qualify for the Classic by winning one of those tournaments?
They kept that, which is influential to me.
Sure.
So that'll keep me fishing. But yes, if it's still winning, you're in for each of the divisions, but you lose the opportunity to qualify for the elites. By the way, do not like that. I do not. I've said it on my podcast before. I'm not a fan of. I understand what they're trying to accomplish, and they've said it to me and on their sites a number of times. They're trying to develop an angler that's ready for the elites. They want qualifiers to be well rounded, that have a strong chance of being able to be competitive out on the elites, and that's what they're trying to create through this new qualification process. But for me, I don't like it. I understand that, but at the same time, man, the guy that's got a couple kids that's trying to live a dream, there's no way he's bailing. He's going to be able to manage 9 tournaments a year. The kid that's coming out of college, that's out of his reach mostly. It's I really like the elites being a little bit more accessible by just having being able to qualify from 3 or 4 tournaments. So that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. I mean, my opinion has been a little bit of the opposite there. I see both sides. I'm more on the opinion of the 9 for developing anglers, and that's just, I mean, from my perspective, I've always viewed it. So I fished the Toyota Series last year or 2 years ago, and then I fished one as a boater this last year, and took some time to learn and fished a bunch of stuff as a co-angler, mostly Toyotas, one open, just on the traveling, flying to tournaments, that kind of a thing, just to see other parts of the country. But my thought has always been, at least the Toyotas in my eyes, have always been a better option on that single small division 3 tournament series for the championship side.
Mhm. Yep.
And I've always thought it is the unfortunate thing with the current opens has been always a kind of selling a dream to make that elites out of 3 tournaments is very low odds of actually qualifying for the elites in that 3 tournament series. But my concern has always been, okay, once you get there, how are you going to afford 9 tournaments? And we all know the elite series aren't free. And that sponsor backing. And so I see, and I'm on both sides, because I think it does ruin a lot of guys' dreams of fishing on the Bassmaster Elite Series. But it's also like, well, it was your better situation to find a way by trying to get to that point to where you can fish 9, whether that's building a business to then go out and do it, whether that's finding a career path that's different. But the trick is, like, I think it also just is, you got to decide to yourself on how much you're willing to give up on like you talking about getting your fix. I'm starting to realize in that same boat, maybe a division of the Toyota series is right now I'm a lot more comfortable and like doing. I get my tournament fix in, and that kind of a thing, but I'm also still able to progress career wise. And so I don't know. There's a lot there, and I'm
Yep.
curious. I'm really curious to see by 2023 what really happens, and especially with the economy and like how many anglers do what. It's going to be a really interesting year to follow tournaments next year, I think.
It is, because you've got a lot of dynamics there. Now, the 9 tournaments, which would they have 50 guys or less that did them all this year?
Yeah, I think by the end of it, I think in the beginning they had 80 or so signed up, but there's that drop off if you're not doing well in the points and maybe
Yeah.
division. You'll see guys kind of dump
Yep.
towards the end of the season.
Yep. Well, I think there's going to be a big influx of MLF competitors
Right?
in the opens this year. So I would conceivably see well over 100 and super talented
I
uh,
agree. Very competitive.
anglers jumping in the mix. Veterans, the 10, 20-year veterans coming over to try to requalify for the elites. I've heard the rumors. We'll
Me too.
see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens, but it's going to be a tough row to hoe. It
Mhm.
always is, but it's going to be interesting to see. You're right. MLF's going to the heaviest 5 fish now, as they've morphed their tournaments. Lot of dynamics going on.
It's
It's very,
crazy.
yeah, it really is. But it's fun.
It
I
is.
I can tell you this. We on the Ike Live podcast last night, we had Jay
Mhm.
Kumar on, and we had been
Nice.
talking about the live components of the tournaments. And I don't know. I don't know how you feel, but I absolutely love watching the live.
Oh, it's a problem. I watch it all the time, Pete. I mean, like I have it playing if I'm working on the boat. I have it playing if I'm kind of working. I have it. It's just, man, it is, it consumes me
I
very
actually
much.
I actually have to turn it off. Like if I have an important task, I
I
have
gotta get rid of it.
I got to get rid of it because it consumes you. I keep it on like you might listen to a baseball game. I was telling them last night that like I'll fish, and I'm so into it that I have it playing while I'm fishing.
I wish I could say differently, but same. I'll have my iPad sitting there while I'm
Yep.
looking at live scope below me. It's a problem.
It is a problem, and you can, and I'll fish and you're listening for the voice inflection, because you can tell when somebody's catching something, and you stop for a second and see what's going on. But yeah, I'm same. So, and I think the viewership is saying that too. Like the and even the I just heard a stat that the open that I fished, that I so eloquently
I was
fell
gonna
in
say
water on.
you graciously took a dive. It's 10-point dive. Like, man, it was beautiful.
Well, they were saying that Saturday viewership was higher than several of the elite finals.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that's what I told them too. Like, I am equally interested in the opens
100%.
as I am the elites. It's kind of like a guy that might be into college football versus the pros, and I love seeing the new crop of guys coming in and watching the competition. So I'm all in on live. I don't know how you feel, but obviously I do
Yeah.
now. You love
Yeah.
it too.
Yeah, well, and I just think about the amount of text conversations and calls that I have with friends in the industry, out of the industry, that are all consumed with, "Hey, what's the point race doing in the opens? Who's gonna make it into the Elite Series?" And having a live component to that, I've always thought, when it first saw that Bassmaster Opens were going to be live, I didn't realize at first that it was just the final day. And then it was like, oh, only a couple of these tournaments. But I was really hoping that they were going to try and push that. And I understand it's an extremely high cost there
Mhm.
with that. But goodness, there is a viewership in my eyes that would be willing to follow that.
And they recognize that, but you said it, you said it exactly right. It's a big cost.
Mhm.
So they're going to need sponsorship funding, some type of revenue because, I mean, and I don't know these. I heard that the numbers are around 30 to 40,000 a day
Wow.
is what the costs are to
All
broadcast.
those camera boats, all the camera people. I mean, just yeah, there's and then studio. I mean, gosh, yeah.
All that wrapped up in is about a 30 to $40,000 a day cost. So yeah, it's got to generate the revenue in order for them to be able to do it. And I understand that, but I would absolutely love to see it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm same boat. Well, that's cool, and that's cool too. Hopefully they'd make that decision sooner than later to maybe incentivize guys to sign up for the opens that maybe we're considering. And now you have, like you said, more ability to go to sponsors and say, "Hey, these are televised events now, or at least the final day is televised." So that's a cool thing, and I hope that follows through.
I think that will be real helpful. I agree with you that will give the guys the ability to sell sponsorships, at least start that relationship. Versus if they don't have that, like I said, you're going to have to find some kind of angel investors or some type of revenue or business, like create your business or maybe have some money to get started with. Because otherwise, I mean, look, what do you think that's going to cost, man? It's like $1,800 times 9.
Yeah,
Double that for expenses.
at least.
You're at $50,000 to $70,000 that
Mhm.
you have to pay to play.
Yep.
Not that doesn't include tackle, lures, insurance, boat and truck payments, and all
Yep.
that crap.
No, it is. Yeah, you're not wrong. It is a extremely high overhead cost with little return on the open side. So I agree. Hopefully they have some ability there to grow that sponsorship side, because that's the only way, that or starting a business, to me, that I see it being like a reasonable decision to go do something from that outside. We all love tournament fishing. We love that stuff, and it certainly makes it difficult.
It does, but like I said, I love it, man. The just the 3 tournaments, I'm already consumed by them. Like we've got Watts Bar on the schedule. I know nothing about. I fished there for 2 hours one day.
Yeah.
That's the only time I've ever spent there. But I really look forward to it. Here they have grass there, so my brain's already starting to go through potential patterns there. We're going to be on Kerr Reservoir, which is iconic fishery in my part of the country that we don't get to visit very often, and we'll be
Especially
there.
at this scale, right? I mean, I don't know the last time I have heard of a Kerr reservoir on kind of that AAA or pro level.
I fished. I have a trophy up there from Kerr Reservoir that was the early 2000, which
Nice. Wow.
is the last time there was June of I think 2006 or 2 or something. Anyway, it's been quite a while since I
Yeah.
fished it. But one of the coolest parts is the being there in the spring because it's a flood control reservoir
Okay.
and the spring rains will flood the bushes.
Oh, wow.
For 30 years, like that was the place, man. When we had the warm spring rains that flooded, man, you get your flipping stick, and everybody would talk about going down there and catching the giant bass, out of the bushes down there. So it's we're going to be there that exact time of year, so it'll be fun.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, excited to follow that. This has all been such good industry conversation, Pete, but I really want to get into your the story of Bass U. Like you said, you were into this tournament fishing thing, touring guy. When did it all start for you? And where did you see kind of the need, I guess, more than anything? I'd love to just get into the story.
Well, it's crazy how it started. We've been doing seminars. My partner is Mike Iconelli. Most people know that, but he and I started about at the same time,
Okay.
and we did a lot of seminars throughout the country, and we actually worked for it was Bassmaster University, is what it was, and we traveled doing seminars for them, and there was ESPN purchased Bass quite a few years ago, and one of the first things they did was they looked at this program and didn't see the massive revenue potential of it, and they killed it.
Wow. And
So
you saw that they were looking at that and decided to kill it, or how did you find out that they weren't going to do it?
I didn't get a job the next year.
I see.
So I was on the outs. I wasn't privy to any of that intel, and but I noticed that I know it was important to me to get a lot of seminars, so that helped pay my entry fees and my mortgage, through the upcoming year of being out on tour. So all of a sudden, I took a big chunk of my income and it was gone. So it stayed gone. I tried to replace it. You try to, do what you can to get seminars in a different way. And Mike and I looked at this at another year goes by, and we're like, you know what? Let's just do this ourselves.
Okay.
And we built a business plan, and we decided to get after it. And looking at it is pretty awesome, because I was looking at it like, this will help me. This will get that big chunk of money back and be able to pay my entry fee, help me with my entry fee. So we did this. We rolled out the first year, and I'm ready to collect my chunk of money, my little chunk that's going to help me.
Yeah.
And we lost $25,000 first year.
Bass U's off to a bang.
So yeah, it's like, man, it's accomplished the exact opposite thing. But you gotta, I wasn't. Yeah, I guess you're an entrepreneur as an angler, right? You're selling sponsorships, but this was different. You're a business owner. You've got to learn how to deal with P&L statements and budgets, and you have to, you gotta watch expenses differently, especially with a lot of moving parts, and these things can slip through your fingers because you're trying to be a pro angler, you're trying to run a business. It's like, man, it's a lot. And so yeah, we lost money our first year. The second year, I figured out how to fix it, sort of, and we broke even.
Okay.
We broke even for a couple years.
Okay.
And it wasn't, and you hear this all the time, like 3 to 5 years until a business can expect to be profitable. And we were right there. I think it was our 4th or 5th year that we finally saw a modest profit.
Wow.
And so that was, I learned a lot of learning how to make good decisions, learning how not to lose money, and then learning to be profitable. And that was big. So that Bass U is now a profitable business, and we're doing seminars. We're hiring a lot of the pros.
And in the beginning, I was curious. So in the beginning there, when you're just starting with you and Mike, I mean, was that, were you two just doing the seminars, or at that point, were you hiring pros to come in and do a show?
We were hiring pros.
Okay.
And that was important to me and Mike. When we crafted this business, we wanted to make sure that we took care of guys like us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we wanted to pay a fair market value and, help them, take care of their business. That was just an important part of our business model. And we're proud of that we've hired 120 different professional anglers
Wow.
over the years. And many of them, we've used, like Ish Monroe has been with us since day one, as has John Cruz, and so many others that have Gerald Swindle and you name it.
And think
But
about
we're
the growth that those guys too get, especially. I mean, I think about in those early years when, I mean, like kind of before the big social media boom and all that, of being at a seminar and being this guy in front of these people. All these people want to meet this person, and just growing your name too. I mean, that is huge just from the angler perspective.
and that's a big part of it, because we're we're compensating that pro, and we're promoting him greatly. So we're helping sell his products that he supported.
First, he's talking about his sponsors, his baits. You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
Like, yeah.
And that's what the consumer wants. If they listen to Greg Hackney talk about the Hack Attack jig, I mean, and they want to buy that exact one. And so it's a win-win all around. But bringing it back to the beginning, I forgot a very important part of the story
Okay.
is when we lost those sponsored or those speaking engagements, when they killed the program.
Mhm.
This was happening in around 08, 2008. And
Wow.
right.
Yeah.
So this was the driving force behind us starting this was the most devastating event in my personal career, really, in my business life. Was at the top of my game. I had won uh, um, they call them Strens or Everstarts. What do they call it? Toyota series now.
Yeah.
I'd,
Yeah.
I'd won one in 06. I had won one in 07.
Wow.
In the FLW tour, I had captured a check in virtually every tournament for almost a 2-year period. I was fishing really at the
Top of the
absolute
game.
top of my game. In 2 weeks, I lost 90% of my sponsorship revenue. In
Holy moly.
2 weeks. It was call after call. Pete, we're having to reduce our marketing budget. We're going to have to eliminate your compensation. It's product only moving forward. Pete, we're going to have to cut your contract by 50%. And honestly, I was thankful to keep the contracts, because the
Wow.
budgets were getting
Yeah.
slashed by everybody. And and I woke up after, I'm so ready to go. I'm like, I've never fished better. And and now to be looking forward, like how can I can't take my savings and give it all back. How am I going to continue down this course? And that's what put me over the edge to get this business started. I'm like, I want to do something to take the economics of my life and my business back in my control, where I'm not dependent on other people's businesses. I'm in control. And that's really the reason, the main thrust of why Bass University exists today was the crash of 08.
That is awesome to hear. I mean, and the amount of businesses that have come out of the 2008 recession, right? Huge, massive, and just incredible businesses because of situations like that. But what you just said there, along the lines of taking control of your finances, that is something that I think is a message that is somewhat missed to anglers. I kind of sometimes I get frustrated with how people talk so negatively on this sport, and this woe is me mentality on, oh well, I can't get the sponsors, I can't, to me. And there's so many struggles in this sport because of the finances, but not enough is talked about of saying, hey, if I want to do this, why can't I go start a business that is going to give me that control and that ability, and take that responsibility on yourself. So I just appreciate you sharing that. I think that it's a message that is important and is doable for people.
It but it's not easy.
No,
You know, it is
no.
not like, okay, I'm just going to do that. And I will say, in today's social media age, there may be even more opportunities for you to take
Hmm.
control than even existed, when we started. But you're, I mean, you've got to work. It is not an easy solution. It's a hard solution, but being able to be in control of that and build that, well, it gives me a tremendous sense of pride, because I've walked through the gutter with it. I've battled the losses, and learned, you know, learned. It's to me, it's just like fishing, man. It's like business is. It's like, oh my gosh, it's 11 o'clock and I don't have a fish in the live well. It's like, all right, what I'm doing is not working. I've got to flip the script. And
Exactly.
business is just like that. You get these trends and tendencies, and you've got to learn from your mistakes, and from your correct decisions. You've got to try to scale those. And but it's great. It's to me, it's very, very interesting. I like being an entrepreneur. I like being in control of those decisions, and it's been a wild ride, Adam.
Yeah. Well, awesome. No, that's just that's crazy to hear. Like you said, thanks for bringing that detail of 2008.
Mhm.
And I'm curious on your, especially just coming from the ASA, have you, talking to these folks who have maybe been in the marketing roles since during that recessionary time period, and I don't think we're going to be in nearly as of a dire situation as in 2008, but have you started to hear rumblings of sponsorship budgets being cut in 2023? Do you feel like that is going to affect anglers in the industry in general in the coming year?
I 100% feel like it's going to, because companies, they don't have a crystal ball, right? So the it's not like what you said is probably true,
Mhm.
but that it's not going to be like '08. It's not going to be that dramatic. But honestly, we don't know. It could
Yeah,
be, right?
yeah,
It could be worse. It's one of the most unusual things, and I learned this from ASA summit, was where this economic situation that we're facing, where interest rates are soaring, it's typically accompanied by unemployment rates rising.
mhm.
And here's the interesting: unemployment rates historically
Yeah.
increase fishing license sales.
Really? That's a wild thing. So when people don't have jobs, they go fishing?
They have more time, they go fishing. They buy fishing licenses and they go fishing. So we've seen this. I remember I had a conversation with Ray Scott about this,
Mhm.
and he said every recession is you'll see an increase in fishing license sales.
That
And
is wild.
isn't it wild? But we're not seeing that. Like the jobs are up,
Yeah,
right?
job market's still very strong.
It's very strong. It plateaued, if anything, or
Huh.
it's just been steady. It hasn't. Don't have a rise in unemployment. Some economists think we might see a rise in unemployment in 2023, but as a business owner, right, you're involved in this. You have a marketing budget.
Mhm.
Um, where most businesses are seeing revenues that are similar to 2019 now, right? The boom of COVID,
2021.
a
Yeah,
lot of those fishing license buyers have gone back to football, or whatever they were doing before. They're going back to it. So we're seeing that, we're seeing the numbers that are more in line with what 2019 or 2020 numbers were. So if you're in control of a multi-million-dollar marketing budget, what are you going to do? You're going to probably be conservative.
little more conservative. And I think about just with the interest rate point, and my background is in finance stuff. I mean, like I think about how much of this industry, and just recently had a rec lending on talking about the finance side of things. And it's like how much of this industry is financed, not even just from the consumer side, but when you're talking about a dealership that has a floor of boats financed and then those rates change. And now you're talking, you know, you're
Whew.
thousands and tens of thousands of dollars additionally in interest. And then I think of tackle shops. And like you said, if you've been building out employees, building out all this stuff because 2020, 2021 were so good. And then now it's like, okay, demand slowing. How much of that do you need to cut back and how quickly? Because how long are you going to be in this time? You know, that stuff to me is, I love thinking about it all. And I am also glad I'm not in a position of owning something where I'm having to make those big decisions right now. But it's just, it's crazy to me.
You said it's uncertain future, and uncertainty usually demands a conservative decision.
Mhm.
I think anglers are going to see. I think they're going to take a hit. I think the tournament organizations are going to take a hit. I think you're going to see possibly some tournament organizations go down or cut back. I don't know, because now I think companies are being forced to choose, like where they might be able to support the MPFL, the MLF, and Bassmasters. Well, guess what? In 2023, you might only get one. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm curious too, and I haven't really thought through the numbers on this, but just from an outside perspective or get your gauge of someone who's been in the industry a long time. I mean, do you what percentage do you feel like a tournament organization of their income comes from sponsorship dollars versus tournament entry fees? You know, obviously payouts and all that have always been a hot topic with anglers, and seeing some of that stuff. What's your gut feeling on what their income? You know, where is it? Is it mostly coming from the sponsorship side?
Man, that's a great question, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll guess with you.
yeah,
Uh, you know, the entry fees. We're in my looking at it and living in it. Basically fishing for our own money.
right.
We're putting our money into a pot and it's getting paid back out.
Yep.
Um, the Elite Series, I think, and a lot of what MLF tried to do was they tried to do like 150% payout or
Mhm.
almost a 200. So you were actually getting some money pushed in from
Yep.
sponsorships. Um, so yeah, to me, I believe it's advertisers and sponsorships is where their revenue stream comes from. It Historically, that's the magazine business model, right? The subscriptions for the magazine would pay for the publishing, and the revenue came from the ads.
Okay, gotcha.
You know,
Yeah,
that's kind of how that worked, and I think that's kind of how the tournament organization works. Fishermen are fishing, they're fishing for their own dollars. Maybe they throw a few bucks in for us to split on
championship.
the
Yeah,
top level. Now, on the opens and the BFL
EFLs.
level,
Yeah.
no. That money's flowing up.
I agree. I think there's that flowing. It's flowing up to that, like you said, to maybe help with some of that 150%, 200% payback at that top tier.
Mhm.
And then obviously the ad revenue and stuff. But I just, gosh, yeah, I think running a tournament organization is just crazy tough, and the margins are slim. I think it's a tough deal when you're, and then like you said, I mean, this isn't an economy driven sport. I mean, we're all going to fish, right? I mean, recession or not, it's going to happen. It's just like, you know, are you going to wait to buy that boat this next year, or are you going to wait a couple of years, you know, and like those additional costs of maybe I don't need to upgrade this graph this year. So some of that stuff I think changes in consumers' minds.
Yep, I think you're right. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with the tournament trails and how they do play out this year. I don't know. I'm optimistic. Let's just say that
I'm
the
optimistic.
economy's going to turn around. It's going to explode in January, and
Can do a little
we're
of this and then go boom, just go
there.
straight up.
Wouldn't that be nice?
I like it.
I would love that, but I will, to continue down the road a little bit with Bash U, there was
Yeah.
a monumental shift in our business that, and I think was really credits our success, or is the reason, one of the major reasons for our success to this point
Yeah.
is we, and this is fun to think about. I talk about it with my partners, and when we started filming our seminars, right? We were originally we conducted our seminars, and that was it. But we started to film them, and we had to make a choice. Uh, VHS and DVDs were readily available, right? And
Wow.
that was the course of action, especially DVDs, right? We were faced with making a choice. Do we build out DVDs, go through the inventory and the retailing of these, and go down that business model, or do we look at this new thing called streaming? You
So
know,
what year, what, like, I mean, when did streaming, what year is this that you're talking and starting to make these decisions?
and I got to go. Well, you know what? I could probably find out exactly if I go over here and check it out, because it was 2000, it was 2 years before that, so it was 2014
Okay.
uh was um was when we had to make that call,
Mm,
you know.
okay.
And that's a ballpark. I don't remember, it might have been 13, it might have even been 12,
Yeah.
but streaming was not known, and there was um it was happening, but it was mainly the larger, heavily funded groups that could afford the development programming to offer that. And but we found a vendor that could deliver that for us,
Okay.
and we had to make that choice, and we decided to go down the road of streaming, and that put us at the forefront of that, because we were one of the very first, certainly in the fishing game,
Yeah.
and that really gave us a really good base. So once we went down that road, where we started to see our revenues enter into the profitable stage, and there to stay, you know.
Mm,
So, because what basically comes down to, we went from being able to give seminars to a couple hundred people in an auditorium, to giving that same seminar to an unlimited audience,
mhm.
um, which streaming allowed us to do. So that was the big shift in Bash U, and that's leads us to where we're at today.
That's the turning point, and that's the train that's chugging, man. I
Yeah.
like it.
Yep.
Wow, that's so cool. I mean, to make that decision, is also right. It probably took some capital to decide to invest into this new streaming thing, and it's like, okay, is streaming gonna be a thing in the future here? Are we moving from DVDs and that kind of stuff? And good on you and your team to make that decision to push forward.
People were still using dial-up internet services back then, right? We couldn't stream to them. Uh, we had to actually wait for technology to catch up a little bit, so that people could use it. And like, the data usage on your phone was a
Mhm.
big problem, because guys that wanted to use our service, it's costing them a fortune, you know,
Yeah,
to view and stream. But as streaming costs have come down and technology
sure.
has advanced, it's now more accessible to a lot of people,
Yeah,
which is great, But like all other companies, we're facing the same thing everybody's facing. Fishing licenses sales are kind of going back to where they were in 2019, and we're, in order for us to continue to stay at the top where we want to be, in that space, we've got to make the right calls, moving forward. and
yeah.
and and going to the ASA summit it actually happened at the perfect time for me, because I had some indecisiveness about, you know I got a lot more clarity now about the direction that I need to be going in 23 and 24. So that's it came at just the right time.
Love it. Love it. Well, what we'll do is we'll kind of wrap stuff up here, Pete. I guess to go on to continue with Bass U, do you have anything that you would like to share with us today on future stuff, on stuff that you're kind of looking forward to into 2023 or and beyond? Anything coming down the pipeline that you'd like to share?
Well, well, I guess the first thing is I'm really excited about our content, which is exciting for us. We we got to film, and this is just from the fish head perspective. I got Brian Schmidt, who I've been wanting to work with for a long time. The grass fishing master is
Master, man.
we have a trio of seminars coming to Bashu TV from him that are already in the can, been and edited, ready for launch, and about swim jigs, how his technique there, which is it'll blow your hair back, man. I'm telling you.
Really?
I've listened to Bill Lowens and the greatest swim jig fisherman in the world, and Brian has a slightly different approach and a significant difference in a lot of cases. So it's something you're going to want to watch. That and vibrating lipless, or vibrating jigs, and as well as his drop shotting in the grass for largemouth strategy. Brian wins at an alarming rate. He has
fisheries.
He has 12 major victories, and there's very few that are in that category.
And it's in the amount. I mean, you look at his track record. He's got the most Toyota Series wins out there, and you look at his track record on grass fisheries. And if you play fantasy fishing, you are foolish to bet against him in a grass setting. Incredible.
It really is incredible. And but I know and I got one of my few. I finished ahead of him at the Open on the Chesapeake.
Let's go.
Only because the grass patterns failed. That was not the deal in that tournament. So I got a little tiny piece of the Grassmaster, but that doesn't happen very often. And but I'm excited about that. And Lee Livesey, oh my gosh, the super talent that we just filmed with Mike Iconelli's fluke seminar just got dropped.
Okay.
That where he shows how he fishes it top, middle, and he has a deep strategy for fishing a fluke that's very unique. But we have the Bashu app, which we launched over a year ago. And the app 2.0 is going to be coming out in 2023.
Very cool.
And very excited about some features that we want to bring, which one of which is downloads, and the download technologies is become advanced, so we can offer that now. So that's
when you say download a video to have it on the go rather than having to stream it per se.
Exactly. So you can watch on the plane, you can watch it overseas, you can watch it when you're out in the woods or away from a signal, which is it's not a problem except for we're a subscription based company, so like you have to be able to download without being pirated, right? So that's the complexity that has challenged us, which is why we don't have it up until this point, but we're going to have it. And I'm excited about many other things I'll save for our next conversation.
Sure.
But we have some cool new features that we're planning for our app 2.0.
Love it. Love it. Well, Pete, we'd love to get you on again. This has been incredible. What I'll do, the last thing I like to leave every guest with, a final question. Basically, your three biggest largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass, where you were when you caught them and what you caught them on.
Oh, man. Well, my largemouth and beyond, and I don't carry a scale with me until now. I have one now, but I never carried a scale.
Yeah.
But I have, so I'll give the one that I have a trio of 10 pounders, one of which I caught on Toledo Bend. And I happened to be rooming with Ike, caught on lipless bait, and I threw it in my live well. It was practice day for our upcoming tournament. And I'm like, I got to weigh this thing. It's the biggest fish I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And we put it on a scale, and his digital scale went like 9.6, 10.3, blah, blah. It bounced, and it settled on 10.01 pounds. So I broke the double-digit barrier, and officially, you know. So that was really cool. Smallmouth, oh, man. I would have to, you know, there was a big one that I caught on Champlain that I'm ballparking at 6 pounds.
Okay.
Which looked like a grandfather, had wrinkles in his face. You know, I'm like, this is an old fish.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so 6 pounds is my biggest there. And man, I don't get to fish for spots that much, but if I think back, I would bet that it's about a 4 to 5 pounder maybe. I got on a spinnerbait bite on Logan Martin, burning a 1 ounce spinnerbait over the flats, and I caught that one day. I caught some really big spots. They got that. What's that? The Coosa River, I think.
Yeah, Coosa River spots, right?
Yeah, they've just got their spots are just bigger shoulders, and that would be my guess. Let's call it 4 3/4.
I like it. I like it, man. Well, awesome. Well, Pete, you know, thank you so much for coming on. And everyone, I'm sure if you are listening to this podcast, you are well aware of Bass University's platform. But if you're not, please check them out. And everything that they have going, their podcast is fantastic. Their subscription services as well. And man, Pete, love to have you back on. And next time, the Classic or something, I'll stop by and we'll have to visit in person.
I look forward to it. Adam, thanks so much for having me on the show. Go to bassu.tv, guys. You can go there and you can subscribe. And we always have a 30-day free trial active there if you just want to dip your toe in and check it out. But I appreciate it, Adam. It was great talking with you, and hope to catch up with you soon.
Sounds good. All right, Pete. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you.